So joining me now from his home in Calgary is Cory Morgan. He's a contributor to the Western Standard Online. He's also a podcaster and a former entrepreneur and a critic of Calgary's Mayor Naheed Nenshi. Cory, thanks for joining me. We had some things, Calgary-focused things that we wanted to talk about, and we'll get to those. But first, let's talk about the news that is sucking up all the oxygen in Canadian politics, and that's the resignation of Finance Minister Bill Morneau. It appears the WE scandal has claimed its first head, maybe, I don't know. I think he's just a sacrificial lamb, but you're an opinionated guy. What do you think?
Oh yeah, well they needed somebody to fall on their sword. This thing wasn't going away. They were hoping and praying and trying to distract, but it wasn't going to happen. They're hiding Trudeau, which is always their strategy when things go badly because he's not cerebral enough to deal with it himself. And they had to show that they're doing something. So Morneau's still got $1 billion to sleep on in retirement, and it looks like he's going to the OECD. So he'll have a soft landing, and they've got to try and rejig themselves. It changes nothing, though. It's the same gang, the same group. They're just shuffling the chairs. Freeland's one of the brighter ones as far as it goes in his caucus and cabinet, so that's where he had to go, though I don't know how well she'll do in finance. But it also just shows how shallow that pool they have to draw from in the whole Liberal caucus is. That's the best they can do. So we're just going to see more of the same.
Yeah, I mean, how do the Liberals think that this is going to make the problem go away by having Bill Morneau, as you say, fall on his sword? Which sword, the diamond encrusted one or the solid gold one? I mean, he's accused of doing many of the same things that Trudeau is in trouble for. His family was enriched through his ties to the WE charity. So is Trudeau. So I don't know how Trudeau can accept his resignation on this issue, except insofar as they say, well, it's not about we, it's just time for somebody else. It's time for somebody else in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of a financial meltdown. It's time for somebody else to be the finance minister. I can't believe they want Canadians to believe this garbage.
Yeah, well, that's part of it. There's no contrition being shown here, so this isn't going to close the door for them. I mean, they're not admitting, even though everybody looking at it can tell, this is due to the WE scandal. But no, I mean, I'm surprised he didn't say, oh, I'm just going to go spend more time with my family. I mean, that seems to be the stock answer for political people leaving in scandal. I mean, they need, if they do have somebody falling on a sword, actually, they need somebody to say, I am resigning because of this. And still, nobody has taken any responsibility or even admitted wrongdoing. So this isn't going to do them any favors. But he's just getting while the getting's good.
Now, you did mention that it looks as though Freeland is going to be sworn in as the finance minister as we're recording this. This will go to air on Wednesday. We're recording Tuesday afternoon. I mean, she seems to be their go-to girl for everything, but I'm not even, I was never confident of her skills at global affairs. I don't know how she's supposed to be a finance minister. I mean, she drew us into trade wars with the United States and never really resolved them. We're still in some of them. And now she's going to handle finance again during a major financial meltdown.
Yeah, well, it comes to who else are they going to get? I mean, they just don't have a lot of depth in that caucus to build a decent cabinet. And at least of all things with Freeland, while she might have been lackluster in a number of areas, she doesn't seem to have fallen into scandal, which is a rare trait among Liberal cabinet ministers, it seems, these days. So they'll take the cleanest one they got and put her front and center because, I mean, essentially, the finance minister is second in command to the prime minister. Deputy prime minister is more a token role. So it's the best they got, and we'll see where she goes. I don't anticipate much.
Now, one last thing on this issue. The media, they seem to be treating this more fairly than they have other Trudeau kind of scandals. However, if Stephen Harper had lost an attorney general, a health minister, and a finance minister all, within about 18 months, the media would be saying that his government was in full-scale meltdown. And yet this is just, there's the WE scandal has claimed its first head instead of Justin Trudeau's lack of ethics is basically causing cabinet to collapse.
Yeah, well, they say well, it's bad, but it's liberals being liberals, so we just got to accept that. That's just part of the way we do things in Canada. We see that Laurentian elite among the mainstream media. It's the same group that they just say is part of doing business, and of course, a lot of them are getting a great deal of government largesse for taking on that attitude. Though they'll deny that influences it. I mean, come on, we gotta get real here. Yeah, there's certainly a big double standard between how the media treats conservative governments and liberal ones, and we're seeing they would have been screaming for blood if this had been the Harper administration. And seeing as it's Trudeau, they are at least being critical, but not nearly enough to warrant the fact that this is examples of gross entitlement and corruption. It really should be making more headlines.
If you'd like to get access to my show, as well as other great TV style shows too, like Ezra's Nightly, Ezra Levant Show, and David Menzies' Friday night show, Rebel Roundup, just go to rebelnews.com/subscribe. That's rebelnews.com/subscribe.